Welcome to the Feminine Principle podcast, heart-centered conversation for soul-centered women who are on a path of self-discovery. I'm your host, Nicola Lucy, shamanic practitioner, shadow and soul integration coach, and the creatrix behind the Feminine Principle, supporting women to redefine the relationship they have with themselves, others, and Mother Earth through the magic hidden in their unconscious. For more information, please visit thefeminineprinciple.com.
So something which came to the surface this morning, which is really, really interesting. So it's about triggers and the patterns which are lying beneath the surface. And so last year, exactly the same time, this guy contacted me who I'd known from a few years before when I was a web designer. So before, I stepped into my full glory and doing what I do, I was working as a freelance web designer, but I was also working for an international business school because I was a UX designer, which is user experience. And I have to admit that this is one area of my life that I absolutely love to do. So I design all my own websites and I love user experience because I love to dismantle things. I'm always tearing things apart and putting everything back together. And so anyway, so I knew this guy from way back then. Anyway, he contacted me because he's got a really great community and he's doing lots of beautiful conscious work and is a really beautiful soul. So anyway, I agreed to meet with him because he wanted me to help him to bring his offline school online. And he wanted help to plan all that. So because this is something that really gets my juices flowing, I really, really like it. So I said, okay, let's do it. So I gave him my time. I gave him my expertise. I gave him my energy. And I set out the price and I had very clear boundaries. I was only going to give him 1 day a week because obviously, I needed to work on, what I'm doing. This is my life. This is what I do. And so it was all very clear. Anyway, for 6 months, he faffed around. He kept saying, oh, yeah, we're going to start. No, we're not going to start. And I'm just waiting for this. And I'm just waiting for that. And it carried on like this for 6 months. And then the last straw came when he said it again. Nicola, I'm ready. I'm really ready to start. Can we schedule a call so we can just iron out a few of the details? And so I sent him a message back and I said, look, I just have availability on this day. Let me know. And he never even bothered to reply. So this really triggered me at the time. But anyway, I thought to myself, okay, that's it. If he contacts me again, I'm not even going to entertain a conversation with him. I'm just going to tell him I'm done. So I never heard from him again. Only now that we're working with triggers, I've manifested the exact same energy again. So just before Christmas, this other guy, and it's always men, so this is really interesting because this is reflecting back my masculine. So this other guy comes in. He's another, is doing a lot of work around the brain and, rewiring, programming, et cetera, et cetera. So, our paths are aligned. And so the interesting thing is that he wanted the same thing. He wanted me to help him brainstorm and put together in kind of like a consultancy position his back-end space, his online space behind. So we set up an appointment, and this was just before Christmas. Anyway, he rescheduled twice. Once is okay? Twice, the alarm bells start going off. Then last night, we were supposed to have the session today at 4:30. So now I would have been in the session. We were supposed to have the session. Last night, he rescheduled for the third time. So this morning, I woke up and I realized what had happened. So I was just, oh my God, I've done it again. I've manifested this. Why the hell have I manifested this? And while it didn't trigger me as it did the other guy last year because I was in a different place, but I've manifested the exact same energy. So this morning when I sat in my meditation, I kind of, I go in every morning and I find out, okay, what's going on? What do I need to see? And so I asked myself, what is this showing me? Well, then comes out the diatribe, well, he's not respected me. He's not respected my time. He's not respected my energy. He's not respected my expertise. And therefore, this is what has been triggered in me. So I use that as the mirror, okay? So it's nothing to do with him. I have to turn it all back around and look at me. So then I saw, well, if I engage in this relationship with him, even though it's rescheduled 3 times and it doesn't make him very trustworthy in my eyes, it's not the foundation to move forward on any type of collaboration, is that I saw that if I entered into this relationship really now, after rescheduling 3 times, then I was not respecting my time. I was not respecting my energy, and I was not respecting my level of expertise and the value that I could have brought to that collaboration. So when I started to realize that, I then asked myself, is this the type of relationship that I want to have in my life? Are these the types of collaborations that I want to work with? And the answer straight away was no, absolutely not. They are not aligned, simply because I live by 4 principles. And well, I try to live by 4 principles, but I have these 4 principles ingrained in my brain since I don't know how long, okay? So my 4 principles are integrity, trust, honesty, and commitment. Now, everybody that's maybe watching this knows that I try to show up like this in my professional life and in my personal life. So this is how I engage with all of my clients, with those 4 aspects, those 4 guiding principles. And I expect them to also meet me at the same place. So we build a relationship. I'm not even though we're practitioner clients, but it's building an equal basis for the relationship. And I think that this is really important, because I'm not going to heal them, they're going to heal themselves. I'm not their teacher, they're going to teach themselves through the work that they engage in. So we build this symbiotic relationship based on those 4 principles. And this is how I also show up in my personal life. So, I know that if a person or if I'm coming into contact with somebody and one of those principles is slightly out of alignment, then my alarm bell will go off. And yeah, we all have our reasons, but it's kind of like I have to ask myself, is this a relationship that I want to enter into, which is going to be beneficial for both parties? Because it has to be beneficial for both parties. If we start off in any type of collaboration, personal or professional, where there's not that trust or there's not that commitment from one side of the party, then it builds for a very wobbly foundation. And, this is just my opinion, and this is the way that I like to work. You might be very different. So I realized that if I entered into this relationship, this collaboration with this guy, already there's not commitment there, because obviously our conversation was not a priority to him. And that's absolutely fine, because obviously he's got other priorities. He's running a business, he's got clients of his own, etc., etc. However, I want to be able to meet that commitment, and I want to show up. But if the other person isn't willing to show up and meet me halfway, then there's not much I can do about it. But I also know that I have strong boundaries, and therefore I don't want to engage in that type of relationship. Second thing was, I no longer trusted him to meet me at the scheduled time. So he was blocking time out of my calendar, which I'd been moving clients around, when all the time he just kept rescheduling it all over. So it was really making it very difficult for me, to schedule in my own clients. And so that was the second thing. Trust was out. Okay, I have to admit that, yes, I did question his integrity, but at the end of the day, who am I to judge his integrity? I don't even know the guy. All I know is that in the interaction that I had with him, there was that lack of respect for my time and my energy, and that's absolutely fine. We're at different places. So this helped me to really accept, who I am, how I live, and how I want to engage with other people. And so those 4 principles, which have been guiding me for so long, really came up very, very strongly this morning. And just by tuning in and asking myself, is this the relationship that I want to bring into my life? Is this the type of relationship and collaborations that I want? And the answer was no. And so by really listening to that no and sticking with it, I then sent him an email and said, thank you very much. It would have been an absolute pleasure to meet you. However, this is not the way that I intend to move forward. And this rescheduling business is not a supportive framework in which for me personally to move forward. End of story, sent the email. But what happened inside me was that it was a real moment, and I could feel that shift, because I want to engage with people who are ready to engage with themselves also at that level, because together we can really bring about a different shift and a different change. So this was really an interesting moment for me. And what it's got to do with the masculine, I have yet to find out, because obviously these are men. And which is really fascinating, because I never have this problem with women. I just have it, just these two instances with guys. But then when I think about it, I've also manifested a third guy who promises something and then doesn't show up, and goes around the houses, etc., etc. And no, that's not my partner. But there's somebody else. So it's interesting how the masculine is reflecting back something towards my masculine. And, part of my masculine that's probably been in the shadow, to be respected and trust and the honesty and the commitment, because also, that is the shadow side of my masculine, as I see it reflected in the masculine and the external. So there's probably still a little bit more digging to do around that. So I'm kind of opening the floor, and I will have a little bit of an exploration going in there. But I just thought that you might find this interesting or inspiring in some way, shape, or form, just to help you to understand or to see, how we manifest over and over again these patterns, very, very subtle patterns that we manifest in the people in our lives. And therefore, the more that we can just take a step back and just see what's at play, the more we can just sit back and ask ourselves, is this the type of relationship that I really want to have in my life? Is this supporting my highest and greatest good? And the body always knows, always. So one of the things I always suggest, and, I work with this myself, but, if we're in doubt comes from the head. Our needs and everything else is going a bit crazy. It's from the head. But when we sit quietly and we ask ourselves, is this for my highest and greatest good at this moment? And the answer will come back either yes or no. And from there, we need to learn how to trust that intuition, because that's our internal navigation system saying to us very, very clearly which direction we need to go. So I'm sure that you can resonate with this in your own life, because I'm sure that there's been instances where you have thrown yourself in a direction, and even though your whole body has been saying to you, no, it's not right, your head has been saying, no, I have to do it. I have to jump off the bridge. I have to go here. I have to go there. I have to do it. Even though we knew deep down, our intuition was telling us otherwise. So this is a really beautiful exploration into feeling into that internal navigation system, because by listening to it, we can then reinforce our boundaries. We can start trusting in ourselves, aligning ourselves with our own set of core principles and how we want to show up in life, so that then we can really strengthen this container and move forward in a much more wholehearted and centered way. So ladies, that's my Friday little nitpick of inspiration. I hope you take from it what you need. And I would love to know what patterns have been coming to the surface for you, if, of course, you would like to share. If not, I'll leave them to the privacy of you and your journals. So ladies, thank you for joining me. Lots of love and have a great weekend. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for tuning in to the Feminine Principle podcast. If you have enjoyed listening and received value from this episode, then please consider supporting the work to create a circle of reciprocal generosity. The link is below, with love and gratitude.